All right, so welcome to episode 5 of Hype for Hoops. Our first topic today is going to be talking about Draymond Green and his declaration that he is the greatest defensive player of all time. What are your thoughts on that statement?
Just watching the Skip and Shannon show, like the yeah, just they said like there's at least 20 players they have that are better than him. And I agree, man. I agree, like bro, like Rodman, like shoot, like there's so many, like Tony Allen, Bruce Bowen, even Kawhi Leonard, man. Like, I mean, this is the start, man. I don't he's not definitely not the greatest, defensive player of all time. Good confidence though. I like the confidence, and that's what any greatest defensive player of all time should say about themselves. But no, he's not.
There's that whole saying about fake it until you make it. Maybe he's faking it and hoping he'll make it. Who knows? You know, I guess you have to be confident that you are, and you kind of have to. I'm sure every player who's pretty good or really good thinks that they're really good, and that's how they get themselves to keep working at it, to keep getting better, and all this stuff. So, it's funny to hear him say it, but if you it kind of makes sense for him to say it. It doesn't make sense for anyone else to say it, though.
David J?
Agreed. Agreed. I think he is a very good defensive player. I think we've talked about it before. I think he's an underrated player, but this business of being the greatest defender of all time is a little bit crazy. I can't believe that deep down he thinks that 100%. It sounds like one of these takes that people give just so they can get into the news cycle.
Mhm.
So, I'll just say he's wrong, and we'll move on from that.
Yeah, I don't even know why we're talking about this. It's like this guy can why is it all of a sudden like he says something and we're so shocked and we're appalled. But like why do we even need to be shocked and appalled? It's just like another idiot saying another idiot thing. It's just so dumb to say.
To be fair,
He's been in the league since 2012. Well, he's been in the league since 2012, and he's won the Defensive Player of the Year once. Well, so how the hell do you correlate that with being the greatest defensive player of all time? That's just ridiculous, man. Like it's such nonsense. Is this maybe he's like, oh, that's his opinion, and we can't argue with it. But that's a dumbass opinion, man.
And there's so many other players that I haven't even won. I think defensive player of the year, like man, like Tony Allen, like Bruce Bowen. I'd consider them better defenders than Draymond Green, to be honest. Only a few guys to lock down like Kobe and those athletic wings back then, right? But
To even argue that to even argue that he is in the top 20, like Skip was saying, I think it was Skip. It's just like it's ludicrous, man.
he's very
He's not even close. He's not even close.
he's very good at a specific thing. He's very good at team defense. But I wouldn't even put him as like a great one-on-one defender, which you'd think you'd have to be the greatest defender of all time.
Yeah, I think they were saying that it's almost like Draymond saying this to kind of remain relevant because obviously the Warriors this year not really that relevant, so that's definitely it. But I kind of wanted to use that kind of as a way to talk about kind of like the greater idea of how do you feel, and I guess this kind of goes on Stefan's point about players stating I am X, Y, or Z. I don't like I was saying to Stefan before the show started, I don't think MJ has actually said I'm the best player who's ever played. I don't recall seeing that sound clip, but it's just assumed, right? I think when other people say it, that's when it becomes true. So how do you feel when a player makes these statements, or just is just really? I mean, confidence is a good thing, but delusional is another thing, right?
I think I'm gonna back Stefan. Like
Okay.
I think actually it's good for them to say it this way. Like they actually need to have that delusional confidence that they're the best in order to even make it to the NBA. Right? The problem with us, amongst other things, but the reason we're not in the NBA is we're realistic. We're like we're not that good. We can't play, and you can't change that mindset. The guys that actually get there have some crazy mindset, and this is part of it. Like I don't know if he believes it deep down, but he probably believes he's fantastic. And if that's
Mm-hmm.
what gets him up in the morning, that's why he's getting paid like $70 million or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they need that. But then when we watch it on TV and we hear them speak, they sound kind of like, they're full of it. But
Mm-hmm.
that actually is the octane that drives some of these guys.
Oh, dude, 100% agree. I mean, in order to be the best, I think it first starts with telling yourself you're the best. Whether you have to verbalize that for everyone else to hear, I don't know about that, but you got to tell yourself internally,
Yes,
you
yes.
have that self. I'm the best. I'm really good at this thing, X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
I think it starts like that, and Dave was saying, basically, like to get there, you gotta, I mean, have that confidence, have that belief in yourself, that amount of belief in yourself. So I think it's okay to tell yourself you're the best, or you're really good at doing something, X, Y, Z, or defending, rebounding, because I think that's one like step of many um, in terms of becoming a great defender, a great rebounder, a great offensive player, a great shooter.
The other interesting thing to think about is what if he's just saying it to get so many people talking about how he's not so that he can get better and show them up, right? Like,
Yeah, like a motivational
that
tactic.
part from the Last Dance where it's like, oh, he said this about me, I'm going to show him. Well, he never talked about you.
Let's just say that this is the best basketball YouTube video show ever of all time.
It
Hell
could
yeah,
be.
100%.
Never
It is,
seen
man.
another
It is.
one. It's probably
100%.
true.
It's
Yeah, you can't like it's happening more and more, right? Like where these athletes come out and they say just like these ludicrous things, and it's their ego, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and they from beginning on when they started playing the sport, they've always been the best on their team, the best in their league, all the way up until they reached the NBA. They've always been the best in the class, on the team,
Mm-hmm.
in the state, right? So yeah, this ego just keeps growing and growing until they got to the NBA, and where they're like they're finally realizing, what, there is some competition now, and now they gotta up themselves over that competition, and they do that by just making these statements that sometimes, yes, are really ridiculous. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing right now is, based on what we had our discussion last week or the last episode, Stefan can't windmill because he's tall. But if you believed Stefan, you gotta tell yourself you're the best dunker ever, and you will be windmilling because
Can I jump off Graydon's back and dunk? And, you
need to believe it, Stefan.
got to believe that I can jump off Graydon's back. Got it.
Next question is I just want to kind of go over. We don't have to go over every trade that happened during the trade deadline, but I just want to know: do you guys feel that there were any significant trades in the NBA, and how does that really, in your mind, change the trajectory of any team and maybe the outcome of the rest of the season?
I'll give you guys PJ Tucker to Milwaukee. I think that's, in just terms of, I mean, it doesn't make them like exponentially better, but it does give him another body to throw at like shit like Brooklyn, man. Like the Nets, like at least at a James Harden or Kevin Durant at sometimes, whoever like Drew Holiday or Giannis or Middleton's not guarding. But I'd say PJ Tucker is my pick. Just the things that he does and the little things that he does. I mean, doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but he could really help a team like Milwaukee, who's already got pieces in place to maybe take Brooklyn to 6-7 games maybe.
My thing is not a trade, but the releasing of LaMarcus Aldridge and then him
Oh.
going to Brooklyn. I'm like, what on earth is this team doing? They're collecting all the old washed up stars. I thought Kevin Durant wanted to win on his own. Like, clearly not.
He can't do it. He needs that super team, man. He needs a super team.
They need like 5 or 6 guys now.
Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. I think
Drummond
Andre
also
Drummond
went
just
to-
went to LA, no? Lakers.
Yeah, that was today. So
That's
it's
crazy.
kind of silly.
Crazy.
I guess the arms race is real.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the bigger news, or yeah, the players that didn't get traded, and some of the teams that are releasing their players, and I think that's going to be more of a news going forward, and how well the teams that acquired some of these players that got waived or or bought out. Sorry.
Yeah, almost feel at this point it's not even like the trades that are going to be like the big impact. It's just how the injuries are going to play out, especially in LA, right? I mean, I think based on LeBron's history, I think he's probably going to be back pretty soon. Just I don't think he's missed that many stretches of the game, even though he's had ankle injuries in the past. But Anthony Davis is going to be that big X factor, right? If he's healthy enough, is he going to be playing at 100% come playoff time? And if he is, obviously, I think it's going to be they're going to be a tough matchup for Brooklyn. But even so, it seems like they're guaranteeing their win against LeBron by getting all these other players, and it's kind of ridiculous.
But like
Um,
even the Nuggets, they got what, Aaron Gordon, who's the other person. But like they've stacked themselves a bit. Miami's stacked themselves a bit. If Oladipo can get back any form,
That's right there.
that's a stacked team. So who knows? There's going to be a lot of interesting things, and probably the Raptors should work their way into not being playoff contention so they can get a better pick. Just saying.
That top five, man. The top five this year is kind of interesting, man, and very
They're
attractive.
they're playing too well, Graydon, for that top five.
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
playing. Yeah, what's the
They
score? Right
started
now?
out well for it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
this losing streak. They had that.
Dude,
They had that losing streak at the start. Then they played too well. Now then they had another losing streak. It's like, come on, guys.
This is why I know like a little bit of the draft class this year, because when we went on that losing streak, I was like, fuck, man, like, might as well check out the draft class now. I haven't been checking it out for like the past few years, and that's how I got into college basketball this year. And then, so I mean, bracket's already busted, but what? It's
All right, before we go to our last topic, I just want to give Dave a chance. He wasn't here last time we spoke, and I know he really wanted to address this question. So, Dave, if you could change one rule or add a rule to the NBA, what would it be?
All right, I thought about this all week. Originally, I was going to go with getting rid of the 3-point line, but I think we talked about this already.
Mhm.
The rule change that I would vote for is I think they need to allow a little bit of hand checking in basketball because
Okay.
I don't it's too hard to play defense now, right? It's so easy for the dribbler to blow by his man and get into the lane that I think you really need to allow the defender at least to be able to put one forearm or one hand on the guy in front of him, right? This having to back off completely is just makes the game way too easy. That's the biggest difference in today's game between like when Jordan played in the 90s. I'd like to see the game get a little bit rougher. It's a little too soft for my taste, so that's my take.
No, I was thinking about that last week. I was actually my second one. Just maybe allow some kind of more physical, like contact or just like roughness, or like hand checking. But no, I agree, man. It's just these guys are so soft these days, man. It's just that's why I really appreciate kind of hockey and like football and like and even when they in hockey when they do fight, there's like a code to it. Like it's just okay. We fought, shake hands. Both teams just like sticks on the board, applauding everyone, but. I don't know. I agree.
Yeah.
I'd probably allow some hand checking.
You'll have a lot of players just lying on the ground every 5 seconds, like LeBron James. Hand check him once, he's like, he's dead. He's like on the ground. You'll get the medical staff out there on the court, like giving CPR, man. It'd be crazy.
Spray some holy water on him. He'll be fine. He'll jump right back up. I've ever seen soccer.
Yeah, every game will have a Paul Pierce moment where they take him out in the wheelchair, and then he comes back out. And it's like
He shits himself,
right.
it comes back out. All good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be nice to give the defense more of a chance because obviously the game has changed so much that it's an offensive player game. That's why the numbers of the players are so much higher now. It's just easier to score.
It's crazy when people are scoring 150 points a game, like both teams.
It's like a
this is
nightly
little absurd.
basis. Yeah. Oh fuck.
All right. So my last question has to kind of do with trading, but I just wanted your opinion on it. And it just kind of came to my mind when I was thought about more recently the Norman Powell trade. And I guess this goes back also with the DeMar DeRozan trade. Do you think as fans, we often overlook the human aspect of trades and don't really think about how it really affects the players? Obviously, like the fans support them and whatnot, but I don't know if any of you watched. I think I sent that Norm clip to a couple of you where he's talking. He's in Portland. He's just talking to the press, and you can tell he was a bit emotional even in that press conference when he was talking about Toronto and how it was not like a really big surprise, but literally he was talking to his agent 1 minute and his agent said, "No, we haven't heard anything yet, so I don't think you're going anywhere." And a minute later, he gets a call saying, "Oh, you're going to Portland," right? Like, how do you think? So, as fans, do we kind of overlook this aspect of being a professional athlete and that kind of like impact on them?
100%. I think so. I think so. I mean, end of the day, they are making millions, man, and you
Yes,
can just be like, like, shit, man, whatever,
suck it
But
up, right?
yeah, suck it up, man. Like, you're still gonna be making more than I'll ever make in my lifetime this year, Just like, but no, there is a human aspect to it, 100%, man, because you build
Mm-hmm.
attachments and stuff, I mean, yeah, I mean, just playing for another team or another city. I mean, no, it's not your home city, but I mean, shit, you live there like for 82 games, like almost half, more than half, 3 quarters of the year. It's just you build attachment to seeing certain places and certain people, and just the getting to the methods of things, and it's just like it becomes home. It becomes a home. So, and you become attached to people, and people become your family. Only people you see every day. So, I could definitely understand that, and understand where especially Norm is coming from I mean, coming from nothing, we were nothing, and then to an NBA championship, seeing all the struggles. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll definitely be a little bit tough.
So at the game today, Norm actually was at the jump off at the start. He actually went to the Raptor side, and he's like, "Oh shit, no, wrong side." Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of the way trading works in from like the human aspect. I much prefer the way it works in European soccer, where if you sell a player, the player has to agree to go to that team. I mean, usually they do because they end up getting more money, but there's at least some incentive to involve the player in where they're going, and like you're not going to send a player to a random destination like hey, you're going to the Urals in Russia. No, thanks, I'm good. So I do appreciate that more than the system in North American leagues where they could just trade any player at any time. And well, I don't care that you live here; you live there now.
Well, the the contracts here in North America, and I'm talking about the NBA here. Um, there there are contracts where there are no trade clauses, right? Actually, I'm not sure about the NBA, but some of the other leagues, they do have no trade clauses. So it's not like they are unaware, or that they don't have an option where they can say, "Oh yeah, you can't trade me." Like, if that's part of the contract, then that's part of the contract. So yeah, I understand the human aspect of it all, but at the end of the day, yeah, like some of you have said, yeah, they're millionaires and they should suck it up, yes. But it is also part of their contract. Like, they fully understand what they're getting into, and if they really didn't want to get traded, or if they don't want to have that move for the next 6 years or whatever their contract is, they can put a no trade clause in there.
Yeah, but the no trade clause only happens for people who have a really advantageous negotiating position, right? So it's usually stars that can force that in, right? And like a low level or a mid level player isn't going to have the the room to put that in. He's just happy to get a little bit more money, right? I agree with Stefan. Like, I think it's difficult. There's no other place in life where you can get traded by your company to another company, like in another city, and you just have to go, right? Usually, in most jobs, we can decide whether we want to go or not, right? And most times when people switch jobs, somewhat it's to their own accord,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is almost like you're getting fired from your current job and then being told you got to go to this other company on the other side of the continent, and to hell with what your wife thinks about it. You just got to go. So I mean, I think it's a little hard on players, but I get it. They make a ton of money, so we expect them to be able to deal with all these things. But like with DeRozan especially, like he was pretty beat up when he left the Raptors a couple of years ago, and he was probably one of the first players to openly come out and talk about it. So respect to him.
Yeah, but the contracts that these guys sign, they try to get the top dollar, right? And I'm sure they wouldn't trade. They wouldn't take less money and put in the no trade
Exactly.
clause, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there you go. Like, they're in it for the money, and if that's the case, then not having a no trade clause is your own shit that you need to deal with, right? If
It's
you do
true.
put in a no trade clause, then maybe the team might give you less money, and both parties are happy with that. But that's not the case here. Athletes want to make the most money, and they don't care about or no trade clause.
Well, now it's different, right? Because now the top guys like LeBron and Kawhi, they want to be able to change teams any moment that they want, right? So the last thing a top player wants is a no trade clause. I imagine even a mid level player's got to say like, there's probably no need for them to have a no trade clause unless they're super attached to a place for some, obscure reason. Like it would be hard to justify. I would expect most players will get over it. They're kind of sad for a few days because they have a new restaurant. They miss their old favorite restaurant, but they'll be okay in the long run.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, I got traded, but I'm making 10 million this year. Fuck it.
Or in Lou Williams' case, he has to pass up on that threesome.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things with Norm though, why we did trade him is I think the Raptors don't think they're gonna have enough money, I guess, to give him that max contract or the contract he deserves next year. So it's almost like the idea that they were trading him to a place at least he can get paid there next year, kind of thing. And I guess at the end of the day, it's a business. Unfortunately, yes, they're human beings, but at the end of the day, they're just pieces. I don't want to say I'm like dehumanize them, but that's kind of like what they're kind of looked at in the grand scheme of things. And it's tough. Like Dave said, I don't think there's any other job where you could literally be given a phone call and be like, "Hey, you got to be somewhere else tomorrow, and you got to do your job in another city with a whole bunch of new people." And yeah, and you've got to move all your stuff. All right, enjoy. So
I'm just trying to relate that back to my time at Shoppers Drug Mart. Man. If they told me to move down the street to the Shoppers Drug Mart at Queen and Kennedy, man, I'd be pissed.
Graydon was like,
I'd be pissed, man. Just one cosmetician that's like smoking, man. I mean, we have lunch together each day, Like, I mean,
God damn it, Gray. The greatest injustice, Graydon being moved, Shoppers Drug Mart when he was working part time.
All right, hold on. You know what? I could relate to this. So let's say you're a permanent employee, a permanent teacher at a school, and you're low in the seniority list. So at the beginning of the year, they usually do the numbers of how many students there are, and then if there's not enough students, then they got to take a teacher and then they got to move them somewhere else to another school. So this does happen in my line of work, where teachers are like moved from one school to another, not by choice. Like the board actually does this, where they move teachers. So unfortunately, we don't have no trade clauses. We get moved around if we don't have the seniority. And
you just need to get a shit ton of seniority, Jay, so they can't move you anymore. That's your no trade clause.
Basically, what you're saying is you're on your rookie deal and you can be moved, but after your rookie deal, you get a no movement clause.
Yeah, you just need to get more rookies under you, and then they can't move you.
Yeah. So I guess that's the veteran.
They better be trading you with some draft picks, man, some future first rounders, man.
At least you're still in the same city, though.
Yes, exactly. At least you have the same city.
Oh, are you kidding me? They could move me like from one school to another school that's all the way across the city. Like that's gonna if I could be going to work 10 minutes across, 10 minutes commute, and next thing you know would be like an hour commute.
It's true.
It's very possible in Toronto.
And Jay would not have $10 million to feel better about the whole
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also think that Jay, along his point, you can be shoved into any position. So something.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be qualified to teach it, but knowing the TDSB, you don't really need to be qualified to teach it to be teaching it.
So that the equivalent would be like Muggsy Bogues playing center for another team.
Muggsy.
They were like, "Yeah, fuck,
I'd watch
we don't
that.
have a center. You go in and do that." That would be like me teaching French.
Just start just speaking German, Jay, and be like, the kids don't know any better.
Yeah.
Remember, if all else fails, je suis un camion, and move on with your day. I am a truck.
We know, Stefan. All right, on that note, thanks for watching, everyone. As always, ton of fun talking to all you guys about basketball. And yeah, hopefully we'll come back with some new and interesting topics. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you next video.